part because there's so much, domestic cricket going on in various leagues. So Umeed's come through that programme, got a full-time deal with Somerset, done really well, particularly in first-class cricket in that full-time deal. And that's now the challenge for him from a Scotland perspective. Born in Glasgow, a very proud Scotsman, but he has to find a way to be able to play, and often that will have to be out of the county season. Wasn't available for the T20 World Cup, even if they wanted to pick him. So with Jones back into the team, with Curry in the team, with Umeed too, that county balance, of course, also Brad Wheel, it adds a huge amount of strength to Scotland. And I think the journey of Andrew Umeed is one that should be celebrated. It's a brilliant story.
You mentioned the Instagram the other day where he was talking about all the reasons why. It was quite that he said, and the way that he kind of conducted himself, talking about wanting to build real connections and fall back on people and not really ride the lows or the highs too much. And you can just see it the way he plays too. He doesn't seem to fluster very easily, and it's very important as an opener.
Gonna run a quick single now. Gulshan Jah picks up cleanly, but the throw is errant. Definitely pressure out there, isn't there? Already, I know it's a different surface. I know it's better bowling conditions, but Karen Casey is hitting. Four days ago, as we just see this ball here, that cleaned up Charlie Tier. Andrew Umeed was the player of the match, wasn't he? And I thought the way in which he played, it was a simplistic technique, but I thought it was quite magnificent.
And I think that's a big part of why there wouldn't be a gully in place right now, because he didn't really search for anything, right? If it was on fifth stump on a length, he wasn't going to hit it. It was only when it was full and outside, really from Shadley Van Skalkvik or Jesse Singh at times. That's when he really started to show his shots through cover. So I don't mind not having a gully.
Quick single, and it bobbles on Lamachani, which is rare here because this outfield is almost like a bowling green, but there's just
well, and you can just see it's almost swirling at times. You can see how much it's pushing, and so again, all the more important of why this first hour really would mean a lot to Nepal to take a couple of wickets early. This is where they can establish dominance with that wind in the swing.
With a good tight over. 3 singles come from it. 4 have been bowled. It's 6 for 1. And man, let's get a look at the points table here. Doesn't make pretty reading right now for Nepal, does it? They are, well, getting themselves into a position that is invidious, to say the least.
Yeah, yesterday felt like it had to be a must-win. It was USA really at their most vulnerable. 2 days ago, rather.
Other bowlers, like McMullen, actually love the keeper being up to the stump. So there's differing views. I'm not saying KC either loves it or hates it, as we see a Sri Lankan fan in there.
Go.
Some brave outfits there, given the wind and the temperature. I think I'd like a little bit more clothing on. This one's nicely bowled inside edge. There are a few Nepal fans in too. But yeah, I just wonder, does Casey like it or does he not? Or has he asked Sheikh to come up to the stumps, or has Powell said no, McMullen's batting out of his crease, and he's now staying up for R.E.E.L.R.E.W.I.N.D as well.
Yeah, and again, this over's been much fuller from Karan KC, and so maybe the idea is, from whether that's Baldo Sheikh or Karan KC himself, is just the fans see themselves on the big screen. One of the best features of Grand Prairie is that they just didn't felt that these two were driving enough, and they weren't feeling that they had to use their front foot. So I think they're just trying to get them out onto the front foot early, and KC has since tried to push his length up.
The R.E.E.L.R.E.W.I.N.D story is a great one. He's not just come back and got a second chance as a cricketer, but he's also completely transformed his game. I believe, and I don't have the exact numbers, but he may have a record as he drives flowingly and really well through the offside. There's no way even Dipender Singh Ari could have stopped that. Just slightly overpitched. It's the first boundary of the day, and what a stylish way to do it.
Well, we mentioned Karan KC wanting to get fuller, wanting to get Andy Umid to drive, but this isn't the length where you're going to really affect him. That was the wicket delivery. You saw how that one was pulled back a bit. This one, overpitched. Andy Umid, what he did against the USA was just stride into it, play within himself, play with his hands. Beautiful there. Again, really not affecting anything there. Brilliance from Umid. He's just, like you mentioned, Lenny, he's just revolutionized the way he's played. And it's just so classical. There's still room for this in international white ball cricket.
Not convinced by the move of the keeper up to the stumps, being honest with you. 7 runs from the over, 13 for 1 halfway through the power play. Yeah, got to thank the former Scotland captain Kyle Coates, someone I keep in touch with a lot. He's watching on from back in Europe, and he's telling me that, yeah, he believes Umid's completely transformed his game. He thinks a huge amount of him as he did as a young cricketer, but also now in his new role. He at one point held a record as, I think, having the slowest ever first-class 100 for Warwickshire. So he was known as somebody who just batted time and occupied the crease, but he really has matured his game. And it's always good to see someone come back and get a second chance as Cammy beats the outside edge. This first hour, well, it could be so important as to where these 2 points will go today. And it's fair to say, Aman, despite Scotland being favourites, it's Nepal that are much more desperate for the points in this table.
Oh, 100%. Again, that one win, they know that they gave up points 2 days ago, that they really should have won that game from the positions they were in. 99 without loss and over 15. And then just let it kind of slip away. Gave the USA that game, it would feel.
Oh, shape. Significant shape. Late shape too, but McMullen happy to drive at it, as Mala does better this time. We saw 9 bowlers the other day for Nepal. That probably wasn't a plan A. In fact, the fact they had to even go to R.E.E.L.R.E.W.I.N.D was because of the terrible position they were in. The game was in essence close to over. As the 100 was reached by Shaihan Jahangir, they needed less than a run a ball, 9 wickets in hand. What was it, 18, 19 overs to bat? Nicely bowling, dragging that length back. And then they had to turn to R.E.E.L.R.E.W.I.N.D. It was almost kind of the last roll of the dice. Then with his 4 wickets, and the wicket that fell at the other end, I think it was 5 wickets for 20 runs or something in that vicinity. They then got themselves into a position where they shouldn't have lost the game.
Yeah.
But they conspired to do so. Was the big moment taking R.E.E.L.R.E.W.I.N.D off and bringing Powdell in? You could understand why Powdell did it. He thought the matchup was, I've got to get 2 bowlers taking the ball away from the left-handers. So that's pulled, really well pulled. Lamachani, I don't think got anything on it mid-wicket, and it runs away, burst through his effort for 4. McMullen into double figures.
Yeah, too short this time from Sampal Kami. He's been so good on a length, and he was touch fuller in this over. This time short with the width on offer. And that's the real key. There's really no threatening with that delivery. He's always just going to be able to use his hands nicely. Played all along the ground. No risk involved. McMullen, you can see he's starting to find real flow. That drive through cover straight to the man, but this time picking the gap. Yeah, to your point, they shouldn't have lost. They were in positions where they shouldn't have lost, and yeah, you felt just ride the hot hand, ride Bertel, let him take one more. And to me, even going to Rohit Bowdle wasn't even the bad option. It just felt that from that point, they just tried to get overly aggressive. They felt, oh, okay, we're ahead of the game. We're going to have to force our way into the wickets. We're just going to be able to bowl what we want, and we'll take wickets. And I thought that was the biggest mistake. They almost just got overly aggressive and really gifted deliveries to Harmeet Singh and Shailev and Skolkovic at that point.
And that goes back to our game management point, doesn't it? Because is the one that goes the other way as Cammy fields athletically too. 6 overs bowled, just the boundary from that over, 17 for 1. But there was 2 places where Nepal lost that game. There's obviously loads of little moments as well, but the 2 clear moments was the batting collapse in the first innings from a position of 98 for none, a couple of balls before the first drinks break. Nepal shouldn't have just got 300. They should have got 350 or maybe more than that. It was that good a batting surface, they had that good a position, and it wasn't like USA bowled well. I know Nosh Kenjige bowled an okay spell. Usually we'd rave more about it, but one of the wickets he got off a full toss, and another one was thanks to an unbelievable Van Schalkwyk catch. But the initial wickets that were really gifted by Nepal. Asif Sheikh played a very uncharacteristic shot. He was really trying to force it. So was Anil Shah, who was dropped moments before and then got out to that full toss. Another misfield. This time it's Gulshan Ja. Nepal, not at their usual standards, and this one is going to cost 4.
We were just talking about how you're playing 2 ODIs in 3 days. How much does that affect you? Gulshan Ja was in the field against the USA, and you can just see there's slight cracks in what's usually such a tight wall inside the ring. They don't let anything go. All the half chances go Nepal's way. It's nicely driven, but to Nepal's standard, that's the regulation stop. Should have come down with it. Gifting boundaries to Scotland. Again, what you can't do in this first hour is allow a partnership to build and allow 2 batters to really find confidence. McMullen, he was showing the abilities in the previous over, and Umidi's carrying on against Karan KC now.
But that batting effort was the first place they lost that game, and in the second place was from that position of 210 for 6 or 200 for 6 when Vanchkalkvek and Harmeet Singh came together. All Nepal needed to do was keep doing the basics right to squeeze USA out of this game. Don't get me wrong, Harmeet Singh played really well, but again, just some poor game management, maybe some slightly muddy thinking. It allowed USA back into the game. And I think if this was a Nepal side that had won 7 from 8 in the table, there's no way they would have lost that game. They were felt the pressure. They know that they needed the points desperately. They're just a bit shy of confidence and form in ODI cricket. And as a consequence, they allowed an opposition that they dominated in the T20s to come back into the contest. It was only Jesse Singh and Nosh Kendrick and Netravalkar left after those 2. And Vanchkalkvek couldn't hit it off the square. He was, 15 off 30 or something to that effect till he hit that 6 to win the game in the very last over. They've got to be more ruthless. They've got to close out games like that. And I know that's what the exceptional coaching staff that Nepal have in place here will have been saying to their boys as a few sirens ring out in the background. Always something happening in Texas. Inside edge, and that could have gone anywhere. Umid a little bit late in getting the bat down. It's funny, isn't it? His keeper's gone back, and already KC looks more threatening.
Yeah, he is. And back to your point about having to be more ruthless. We've talked about winning becomes a habit. Losing almost it creates a snowball effect to where you're thinking about not losing versus winning, and that's a big mental battle. I think the first thing to do to win, and you hear coaches talk about it, the way you learn to win, first you have to learn how not to lose, and there's a big difference there. And the mindset's got to be that of we're here to win. You're here not to lose. You're here to win. You can't think about the loss. If your focus is there, that's what's going to end up happening. That's the mindset change that's got to change.
Yeah, Nepal have won in the power play. To really make it their first power play, first 10 overs, just 2 fielders allowed outside the 30-yard circle. They would love 2 or ideally 3. I think KC's bowled a bit better than Kami has, and he's looked the more threatening. Might just be tiny bit light on seam bowling options for the conditions. I know they've Gulshan Ja to come, but after that it's really just R.E.E.L.R.E.W.I.N.D that can bowl anything that isn't spin. You look at the conditions today, as we get to the end of the 7th, 22 for 1. Was there an argument that R.E.E.L.R.E.W.I.N.D could have been in the 11?
Especially after what we saw from Scotland on day 1. Left arm seam was really working the ball around, and so we just thought R.E.E.L.R.E.W.I.N.D could have made his way in. And again, maybe just go. They did take out Rajbanshi for Kushamala, but maybe you bring in R.E.E.L.R.E.W.I.N.D and maybe take out. And who do you take out is really the big question. Where do you go? Is it Arif Sheikh that has to come out? He's a great bat. But do you reckon he comes off? Do you maybe turn it over to another spinner and say, all right, you're going to have to miss out in today's game? I think the big issue with bringing in R.E.E.L.R.E.W.I.N.D is that he's the one player that might not be the all-rounder, right? He's strictly really a bowler. And do you want to lessen that batting strength to bring in another seamer?
Well, DJ's kept the tunes on through that ball. Nobody seemed too bothered. Didn't perturb Andrew Mead or Sampal Kami. I know some batters that certainly would have pulled out from that. Basketball last night down at the American Airlines Centre. Mavericks beat the Jazz. You know I'm not a big basketball fan. Did last night change my mind?
I don't reckon it would have. I don't think that was the game to change your mind. It's only the third game of the season, Lenny, so they're figuring things out. It's a new group. But you did get to see maybe the best player in the world, Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, who's a specialist with the ball, and then
Oh, lovely flowing drive from Umid. Slightly overpitched. It's his second cover drive for 4. That one even better.
talk about specialists, talk about ridiculous talents. Andy Umid's got it. And again, it's just overpitched and well played. He's just played it very late under his eyes, straight in the gap again. As someone who's got so much time on his hands to just react to what the ball is doing. He's covered the swing quite well. Sompo Kami, he has been a little bit wayward. As you mentioned, Coach KC's been the more threatening of the two. Kami's getting it to nip around, but the problem is he hasn't been consistently on any kind of a length so far.
Ooh, nice little bit of clever fielding. But McMullen was live to it rather than being run out at the non-strikers end. He got back safely in time. I was more impressed with Kyrie Irving. I know Doncic had a bad night, and I know how good he is. I've seen him do some other stuff, but that Kyrie Irving, he was impressive.
Incredibly shifty. He's got the ball on a string. He does some incredible things with the basketball in his hands. Klay Thompson was quite good. Number 31 for the Mavericks. He's won 3 championships with the Golden State Warriors his first season.
Oh, he's moved across.
Yeah, he has, and it was kind of coming off an off year. Everyone's like, "What's he going to be like?" And he was quite good in Game 3.
And it's Kami that gets past Umid, the player of the match from 4 days ago, has been cleaned up. It's a simple old game. You hit the top of off stump, you can't go too wrong, and that's exactly what Kami's just done.
Over the first time in Grand Prairie, Andy Umid's been dismissed. Wasn't out in the practice. Wide of the crease as well, and I think that's what's probably done Umid, and he's just anticipating it to almost just meet his bat as he looks to play it a bit on. That late movement, like you said, doesn't need to be huge, ever so slightly with decent amount of pace is always going to be threatening.
Well, coming new to the crease, the non-strikers end, that's Richie Barrington. There's another one, beats the outside edge. They've got two in the power play. Imagine they could get a third. That would really make it